Ray Dalio is one of the uh, top investors in the world, maybe in history. Bridgewater Associates. He invented whole fields, of diversification, and he's very famously advocates in his all-weather portfolio keeping a 5 or 10% or so of gold and oil and commodities and so forth. And I just wanted to read a quick quote by him. I believe Bitcoin is one hell of an invention. The big questions to me are, what can it realistically be used for? And what amount of demand will it have? Since the supply is known, one has to estimate the demand to estimate its price in the future. He basically says that since we know the supply of Bitcoin is fixed at 21 million, as you said in your book, what he says is we need to know the demand in the future. Is the demand going to be there in the future? And that's the key issue, because we have fixed supply and unknown future demand.
There are different layers of adoption. There are, the cyber banks that started with Satoshi 15 years ago. There were, researchers and more IT people. They were, the next wave. There is a more general adoption that I would say is in the last 5 years, a little bit before the pandemic, especially after 2020. And now there is the institutional one. So there's retail and institution. So with the approval of ETF in January, with the 11 ETFs that were approved for US and Canada, now there are some in Asia, there is the big institution like BlackRock and, Vanguard. And it's like investing in Bitcoin with the derivative of a Bitcoin. It's not like holding the Bitcoin, but it's a financial product backed up one-to-one from Bitcoin. So to answer your question, with these different adoption during the years, and with the performance of this asset that we have during the years, I mean, it's clear that the demand is there and is growing, basically. Now, we have only 450 Bitcoin produced every day. There's a block of 3.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So we have approximately 450 Bitcoin. And depending on inflow and outflow of private investor, institution, and now ETF, I can tell you that the inflow is always almost always higher than the 450 Bitcoin. So if it's supply and demand, you cannot inflate or add any supply. It's mathematically, a no-brainer to see that the price cannot just go can only go up, right? This is my take. Now, the big question is how long will it take? And, and we talk about volatility and time frames.
What can it realistically be used for nowadays? And you just got back from El Salvador, right? You're coming to us from Los Angeles, is that right?
Yeah. I was for 2.5 weeks in El Salvador, and what I call my proof of visit. As you know, Bitcoin is one of the few crypto assets that requires proof of work, right, from miners. So we need actually energy to produce Bitcoin. It's not proof of stake as Ethereum, for example. This is a huge difference. So back to your question, I decide to don't trust and verify. So I decide to take my, my suitcase and fly to El Salvador to really understand what's going on. El Salvador, in the last few years, has been going through an incredible transformation with this visionary president called Nayib Bukele. And is the first and actually the only country in the world right now that has Bitcoin as a legal tender. So because I was writing this book that, you see Bitcoin, the money revolution, and actually I'm working on another one that is called the Gen B, the Bukele effect, I decided to really touch with my hands and, literally see what's going on. And it was an incredible experience. I was to what is called Bitcoin Beach. There's an area, coastal area.
It's called Bitcoin Beach?
It is called Bitcoin Beach. And it's actually a place called El Zonte and El Tunco, but actually Bitcoin Beach is actually a place right now. And I can just tell you that the adoption is incredible. Even the local vendors, the tiendas, the little, guy that sells you the pupusas or, the sweet tamales, accept on the street Bitcoin.
So who is using the Bitcoin in the Bitcoin Beach? Like, it's the common people, or is it like more of like elites, or like give me an idea of who is using
I
it?
would say there are two target audience in Bitcoin Beach. One are surfers that because El Salvador is famous for surfing, and that was actually the only tourism they had, and now they are Bitcoiners. So because it's a local economy, the vendors adapted very fast, and they realized that with just a smartphone and with a lightning layer 2 app, there can be Strike or can be other apps, you can send and receive payments in seconds for fraction of fees, right? For pennies on the dollars for fees. So to answer your question, almost everybody from the local little store to the hotels or to the restaurant accept Bitcoin as an option. Is not mandatory, so you can still pay in US dollars or in Bitcoin. And they normally use what is called Chivo wallet. It is the wallet that the government gave to them when gave this $30 incentive fee for increased adoption. And there's an interesting feature on that wallet. Basically, you can decide to keep the money, the amount of Bitcoin in US dollars. Let's say that I'm buying, it is actually a real fact. I bought 2 sweet tamales for $6. So there was a guy called Jose.
Using Bitcoin?
Who was using Bitcoin.
Using Bitcoin,
so,
okay.
And I
So it's
remember
like
that
on that micro
reason,
level, the people are.
on
So
the macro
but
level.
what I'm getting at is these are not wealthy people. Is that what I'm
No,
understanding?
absolutely.
These are like
it's a
hippie
local vendor that
surfer
people
hanging out, and the vendors are like
yeah.
adapting to suit the demand of those clients because those people don't want to carry cash. Or why are they using Bitcoin? I guess that's
Well,
what's really
first of
interesting.
all,
Why don't they want to use the
yeah,
local cash?
just for the sake of paying in Bitcoin, because actually I don't spend Bitcoin. So I'm a hodler, so I hold my Bitcoin. So the only time I spent my Bitcoin was in Salvador was because it was kind of a test for me. So back to my example. So I remember that not only Jose accepted the Bitcoin payment, but he gave me his hotspot because for some reason I didn't have a Wi-Fi.
This
so
is my next question about technology.
Connected me to let me connect with his hotspot, and I sent him in a nanoseconds, literally in a fraction of seconds, $6. And the option that Jose has is to convert or keep in Bitcoin with the volatility that we know. So it's kind of a bet, right, on the short term, or keep in dollars. So there's basically a layer that protects these vendors. Okay, he receives $6 and he can keep, use, spend, convert. Very interesting, because in El Salvador there are around 220 Chivo wallet ATM, basically only for El Salvadorian, right? They can go with their Chivo wallet and withdraw cash, so they can deposit.
I had a question about that wallet that you were mentioning, that the wallet, they don't actually hold their what was it,
keys,
their passwords
private
or their keys. So it's a question of who's really owning the assets, right?
Great question. So basically, for what I understood, the government, to create something that was easier to implement and adopt and be understood, they basically create a layer. So someone, a third party, owns actually the wallet, and you use the interface. So basically, when you set up a wallet, you normally you need to write down your 12 or 18 or 24 key seeds, right? And that means that in case someone goes wrong with that wallet or with that application, you can rebuild your using an open source app, your wallet at any time. That's one of the advantage. One of the advantage of the Chivo wallet, they don't actually have those keys. The advantage that was much easier to implement, they just had to download the app, doing a KYC that was required, because again, only people from Salvador can own or download the Chivo wallet, but anybody can use the Chivo ATM. In fact, I used the Chivo ATM to basically deposit cash, deposit fiat currency, and receive Bitcoin.
So does the government maintain this infrastructure, this network of ATMs, or is it privately?
No, is partnering with an organization or multiple organization, but is a government project. In fact, one of the critical points that El Salvador is a small country, as I believe around 8,000 bank ATMs, regular ATMs, and only 220 Chivo ATMs. So if you compare this to the 8,000, it's still, a small fraction, right? And there was a huge difference from the Bitcoin beach, right? To this very high adoption area to San Salvador. This is actually the capital of El Salvador, where I was expecting actually even more adoption. Is the where the government is the capital, is the most advanced. And instead, the adoption was very low. The adoption, I would say, that is around 1%. That is actually surprising.
Wow.
They still need a huge education. And my book and the project I'm working on Bitcoin go exactly in the direction to educate.
Because mostly I'm interested in technology. I understand it's like must have the internet connection, but what about cybersecurity? It couldn't be just any Wi-Fi point and which because it's unsafety. Even it's on the beach, someone sharing Wi-Fi, it can be catch this transferring Bitcoin in the middle, on the stage of Wi-Fi sharing. So who is provides cybersecurity? Is El Salvador government so experienced and can say we make it safe, or if not, we will give you some money back? How is it going on with cybersecurity?
Well, the security is guaranteed by the provider of in this case, of what's called layer 2 Lightning. So in my case, I was using an app that's called Strike, and Strike was my layer 2. Basically, is what makes people being able to transact in a very short time, because if I would use the regular on-chain, the regular blockchain will take much longer, can take up to hours to settle, right? And is more expensive. So to answer your question, the cybersecurity protection or the security layer is guaranteed by the provider of in this case, of the wallet or the layer 2. But a Bitcoin in 15 years plus that has been created has never been hacked. So is the most secure network in the world. Is 1,000 and 1,000 more secure than Google. There is a very technical reason why it cannot be hacked, because it's distributed around the world. So you cannot hack at the same time 1,000 and 1,000 of nodes.
Because there's all these nodes. Yeah, there's all these nodes mining separately.
Basically, that's what makes the most secure. And every second, Bitcoin has been attacked, but never been breached.
What about countries that ban cryptocurrency? Because I live in Kuwait. You're from Italy, right? You're from, I was reading some of your background. You were in the military for a while. Was that correct?
Yeah, I was a lieutenant, an officer for a special corps during for a couple of years. Was one of my different paths.
And then you became a lawyer, and then you became an MBA, and now author.
What I define a non-linear cross-pollinating career. That is a nice way to say that I jump from point to point, until I get tired and I get, disinterest in something. But then when I really like something, I really go deep.
So what do you say to countries like if Italy was to ban crypto, or I live in Kuwait and I'm reading this last year, Kuwait bans cryptocurrency, crypto mining, and transacting in virtual assets. And I think here it's banned commercially. Of course, you can always scoot over to Abu Dhabi or Dubai for that, right? But what about like people, I'm thinking of like, what if you're holding crypto in a country? If I was holding crypto, I'd be worried, what if the government changes the law tomorrow? What does that mean? Especially what you were saying before about the volatility, given the volatility of Bitcoin in the market, that it is does have a beta probably higher than 1 if we measure. I'm not sure do they measure the beta of Bitcoin? I'm not sure, but you live
in a country like Kuwait. It's one of the few countries.
I think India, China, but I mean
Actually, in China, you can hold Bitcoin.
Okay. You can hold, yeah, you can hold it
mine.
here too. You just cannot do it through the bank and through the small businesses and so forth.
So my recommendation, if you live in a country where Bitcoin is, how can I say, is considered illegal, it's an extra reason to acquire Bitcoin, because meaning there is something wrong even more in that system. Because it's a self-protection system of the countries, of the governments, and of the fiat currency, right? So just to simplify, the fiat currency is money that has no value beside the fact that the governments is guaranteeing that has value, right? It's what I call is a system of beliefs, right? Since 1971, as you know, Nixon removed the gold standard, basically the correlation between gold, a physical, tangible asset, and the money printed, and for different reasons. You know, Vietnam Wars, there were European countries that were claiming their gold back, like France and England. And basically, since that moment, the government and the central banks can basically print money like a printing machine. Literally, there is no limitation, and actually is what I call the stealth, the silent tax, because more money they print, more they are inflating the market with this currency, less purchasing power our dollars has. So the same money that 5 years ago was worth $100 now is worth probably $75 or so, even according to CPI or PPI, the regular inflation index, right? When in reality, the real inflation is much higher. So I think to answer your question, if you are in a country that doesn't see Bitcoin in a positive light, even more reason to hold Bitcoin. Actually, the fact that Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous, people think that Bitcoin is anonymous. In the reality, the address is public, so it's always visible on the blockchain. And this is another incredible technological advancement that Bitcoin has. The person associated to that wallet is anonymous. Of course, you know, now there is a lot of exchanges, they use KYC, know your customer. Basically, they want to identify you. But, you know, there are also exchanges, it is not financial advice, just to be clear. It's not any recommendation. I'm just saying that in general,
I don't know, you're selling me. I'm getting ready to head to my broker, open up a wallet.
There are exchanges that don't require KYC, by the way.
I can share my experience. I'm in Ukraine, and it was Bitcoin became popular a few years ago, but it wasn't any regulations. But officially, Ukraine legalized crypto accounts in March 2022 after invasion, and government let companies' accounts take donations, share donations. So Bitcoin, it's a legal currency in Ukraine right now. So you can use it as any other currency.
It's reminding me of, you know, we had Hong Kong with dollarization. It's like now we have the new Bitcoinization, all these countries adopting it as their currency, as AP saying they're sort of a fiat.
What we call this hyper Bitcoinization now.
Yeah.
So it's what I foresee in the future. And again, I'm biased, so of course I'm you know, always is what I define myself a Bitcoin maximalist, right? So I don't even consider Bitcoin the same basket of other cryptocurrency. I hold other crypto assets. But I believe that Bitcoin is definitely a different category completely, you know, than other crypto assets. Even if there is cryptography, even if there is, you know, blockchain, of course, in the technology, but, you know, is one of the few assets that is proof of work. Is one of the few assets, if not the only, that has a limited supply, as you said, only 21 million, has the halving every 4 years. Basically, we cut the mining ability in half every 4 years, and this should literally, you know, even if the demand stay constant, cutting the supply, this, should already let the price going up, but actually the demand is going up. So it's a double, effect.
I was looking into it actually for myself personally, for my own. I was looking into that the current rate is, I think, 6.25 Bitcoins is the reward to figure out the hash, and it's so technical what these people do.
It's a 3.25 every 10 minutes.
It was 12.5 a few years ago. In 2012, it was 25. In 2009, it was 50. And so, yeah, like you're saying, it's halving, and in a few years, it's anticipating they'll cut it to 3. And so that supply is just. I saw a graphic in your book. Can we see it again? It said that 94% of the Bitcoins are already in existence.
Yes.
It's going to take until over 100 years to produce the remaining 6% until 2140. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is interesting. And consider that there are of those, let's say 19 millions or so, around 4 millions have been lost. Lost means that people died, they lost the key seeds, they lost their wallet, they were stolen. There's something that basically doesn't allow the owner to basically claim those Bitcoins.
So and that's a huge concern, because what happens to that value in those assets? I personally know someone that happened to. I know somebody, ex-girlfriend who knew somebody that worked at Microsoft and got in Bitcoins like in 2008 or 10. He had a bunch on a hard drive, and they are just. He tried to get into it. He couldn't.
There are solutions to that. For example, I have what is called multi-signature wallet. So basically, my wallet has 3 sets of keys. One set of keys is held by the company that I pay the service, and 2 sets of keys I hold. Actually, I give someone else 1 set of keys. So basically, it's a 2 out of 3, meaning that if I lose one of my hard wallet, like my Trezor, I still can use the one from the company plus the other one. But the company cannot basically move, can only see my wallet because it's a public on the blockchain. So this is called multi-signature, wallet. And actually it's one of the way to bypass or to mitigate this risk of losing your key seeds.
That's wonderful. I didn't know about this.
So we talk about all advantages, Bitcoin, future, how it's useful, convenient, etc. But if we're talking about from environment perspective, so mining is still very carbon producing process. And maybe if Greenpeace and any other organization raise a hand and said, hey, stop mining. It's so bad for other planet, global warming. Stop it. Don't use it. So it's like an influence in some way for Bitcoin economy?
Well, it's okay. At the end of each chapter of my book, I put what I call debunking Bitcoin myths, right? So there is this orange page, so easy to understand. One of these myths is that Bitcoin uses a lot of energy and is not good for the environment. In reality, between 60 and 70% of the energy used for Bitcoin is renewable energy. So actually, miners need to find a cheap way to produce energy. And in fact, all around the world, they're using all the possible way to reutilize energy that was waste, right? Like geothermal or water energy, wind energy.
So solar. I thought of solar here in Kuwait.
Because actually, or burning waste. So because if they would use the regular energy, will be not profitable as a business. So this is a big myth. Yes, Bitcoin requires energy, but actually AI requires more energy than Bitcoin if we were talking about use of computing power. However, the big majority, and this percentage is growing month by month, of energy used from the miners that are actually the person that the company, the organization that create this Bitcoin with solving an equation, are using either renewable energy, or they're actually converting finding way to use energy that was wasted in the past. And this is also not just an environmental view, is a financial and economical need. Otherwise, they won't be profitable. So let's debunk this first myth that Bitcoin is bad for the environment, because actually it's not. Actually, it's good for the environment because it's pushing these entrepreneurs and these organizations to find better way to produce and save energy.
Yeah, I had the same question for you, and I kind of talked myself back the other way. You know, I saw a quote on here that the global payment system, the IMF estimated that it represented 0.2% of global electricity consumption that the Bitcoin did, comparable to small countries like Portugal or Bangladesh. And a lot of people use that to say, wow, that's a lot of electricity, 0.2% of the whole world. And I would say to that, how much electricity did the banks waste? All the paper pushing, all the pencil, all the buildings, all the boats, all the nonsense, the suits and all that. And if you got rid of all the banks and all that stuff, you know, I think 0.2% of energy production, and as you mentioned, is probably going to be falling as we bring more renewables. The criticism of, I guess my point is the criticism of Bitcoin or crypto mining as environmentally wasteful is more of like a criticism of our energy system in general. It's like we need to change the energy system, period, for everything: Bitcoin mining, producing oil and gas, transportation, everything, right? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you know, saying how much energy is using is an incomplete information, because you should say, okay, of that energy, how much is from smart and renewable sources. That's the point that they are missing. And your example about banking was exactly what I'll be using, because banking use much more energy, of course, the entire financial and payment system, that infrastructure that is around the world. And I'm not saying that we should get rid of it. I'm just saying that we need to, it's all relative and is what you compare.
You know what it reminds me of, because you're in California, you'll probably appreciate this. How when I lived in LA for a year, and I failed miserably at music, but I succeeded eventually. But you know, they tell you not to water your lawn, and you have to conserve your water sometimes during the drought. But it's like, it's not people watering their lawns that's causing this problem. It's actually the river is being depleted by major industries and businesses, and so it reminds me.
But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
No, yeah, but
it's the same with the garbage. Oh, somebody spoiled water more than me, but don't put garbage in the river.
Yeah, the argument against mining for environmental reason reminds me of that argument in LA, in that situation of like, hey, don't water your lawn, while you know, you're saying, hey, don't waste energy on Bitcoin, while the biggest hedge funds in the world have supercomputers that, like you say, use enormous amounts of AI that use a million times this amount of energy to whatever come in between the transaction and place the bid so they can get the spread and get the liquidity or whatever they do, you know.
Before Bitcoin book, you wrote AI, Hello AI book, or Hi AI. And the question is about, did you think about relation and how AI technology can use in the blockchain, Bitcoin economy, etc.? So is it related already? Artificial intelligence and Bitcoin?
I'm probably speaking to a conference on Bitcoin, and one of the themes that I was just considering is this connection between AI and Bitcoin mining. And I think that will be more and more of a topic in the near future, because both technology require, as we said, a lot of energy. And both technology has, an incredible impact on productivity, on finance, on payment systems. So I think that there will be a correlation. For example, in investing in new power plants, right, to create sustainable or energy that is used in the best way and as the low cost as possible. And there will be a way to split this investment, this cost between AI, supercomputer organization that needs high a lot of energy, and Bitcoin miners. So I believe that will be at the beginning will be a little a competition, because it's basically you have, as Joseph said, you have a limited grid and limited the capability of energy. But in the next step will be teaming up together to find the best way, the most sustainable way. I know you're very sensitive on the environment, and I'm with you. The best way, the most sustainable way, but also the most financially viable way to produce energy that is required for the two technology, AI and mining in Bitcoin.
We'll see. Maybe some startup already exists and we can invest in them and combine all new technologies together.
So I have kind of a got you for a question. Okay, it's a tough one. Okay. Warren Buffett says he wouldn't pay $25 for all the Bitcoin in the world, and he considers crypto rat poison. Is Buffett wrong about Bitcoin?
Well, Yusuf, there are three, one of the quotes that I love in my book is there are three classes of people. Those who see when they are shown, and those that they never see. It is a quote from Leonardo. Warren Buffett, that of course is an incredible, investors will never see. Is a generational, is cultural, is also a way to protecting the status quo. There is another person like, I'm not saying that Warren Buffett is not an intelligent human being. He's incredible, successful. We know that he made the majority of his money in real estate and in finance. There's another interesting character, that is Peter Schiff, that is actually against the financial system in the mainstream one, but is also a supporter of gold. Peter Schiff, that is another very intelligent professional that actually I like for several reasons. He will never see, will never understand Bitcoin. So the point is, you have from one side the Schiffs and the Warren Buffetts of the world, and the other side you have PhDs. You have Michael Saylors, you have Fred Krueger from Harvard, you have MIT.
Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio. So the point is it's different philosophical, ethical approach to investment. And I believe that Bitcoin is much more than just a store of value, is much more than just a medium of exchange. It's much more than just the perfect money. Is also a financial, but it's also a philosophical concept. And I believe those people have a different philosophical approach to finance and to the world.
Yeah, I took the quote to mean that he didn't believe in the concept. That's what I took.
Absolutely, he doesn't.
Yeah.
I wonder, can we make investment in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I actually have a specific investment question about. So when you hold your coins, are you able to kind of lease them out in a way that you would collect rent on them or so forth? I've seen people do that where they can own a coin the way you'd own a house, and then you can like lease it to someone that would want to borrow coins, and you receive
it's called technically stacking,
10% or whatever on your
Yeah, it's called stacking, and basically you are leveraging your Bitcoin. Okay. So basically, it's like similar to the process when you deposit cash to a financial institution and you receive an interest. Right now, the interest that you see from banking is,
0.000000001.
So, but let's say when we had a different approach to finance, more equitable, you receive a few percentage points on your deposit, right? And it is exactly what. So if you decide to stack and keep that amount of Bitcoin, actually it's possible with other crypto assets as well, not just with Bitcoin. Yeah. You can leverage and basically receive an award, right, on the amount of Bitcoin that is commensurate to the amount of Bitcoin you are stacking and holding, and to the time that you hold.
Yeah,
I don't personally do, because there is still a risk involved. And I'm not a trader, I'm an investor. So my philosophy with Bitcoin is acquire as many you can. Dollar cost averaging, I think, is the best strategy. And again, that's not just for Bitcoin, but in Bitcoin that has a high volatility still is probably the best process to acquire, and I hold. I will say that never say never. I will never sell my Bitcoin. I will probably spend my Bitcoin when I believe that the value of Bitcoin is at the point in which I can acquire something that I consider valuable, at least as much as Bitcoin.
If we're talking about future, and you mentioned, Anthony, your next book at the beginning. So
Yes.
what is it about? And again, any connection with your previous research?
How many books did you write, man? You wrote
Well,
how
I
many
have
books
so
since
far I have 3
graduation?
books. These are my 3 books here. You can see. This was my first one. Totally different topics. These are marketing, sports management. If you see the picture here, I was very young. This one is about AI marketing.
Yes, you see, it's related, it's connected. Marketing,
Related.
AI marketing.
This one is about Bitcoin, is what I call the Bitcoin 101. It's very basics. The one that I'm working right now is a more advanced book on Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin Gen B, the Bukele effect. And basically, Gen B is the generation that is beyond traditional demographics, right? The boomers or Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, Gen Z. So Gen B, in my idea, is something that is an umbrella that covers all different ages and geographical locations and backgrounds and type of approach to finance. Is something that is philosophically above, right? Bitcoin is the common denominator. And I'll be using mainly Salvador as an institutional example, like a country, right? As a first country that has legal tender Bitcoin, and large organization like MicroStrategy with Michael Saylor on the entrepreneurial side, right? And I will try to really go deep on what is money, what is Bitcoin, but also try to guide the reader to really what is the entire journey, not just how I buy Bitcoin or what is Bitcoin or this volatility or when Bitcoin will going up or going down, right? So it's much more than just a technical book. Is a financial book, is an economical book, is a philosophical book, and is also a motivational book, because I think that Bitcoin is also the hope for a better future.
Where can people find your books? On Amazon or?
My books are all on Amazon right now. I also a link on my website, antoniopagano.ai, that is kind of my hub for my works. But on Amazon, either you can search AI, how human ingenuity and artificial intelligence are changing the marketing universe, or this one, Bitcoin, the money revolution.
Who is Anthony?
We got so excited, we just jumped right in.
We met all together on our OMBA program.
Yeah. So we met in OMBA program, and it was a great experience. And this is a funny story that I think Olena and Joseph, you like. When we talk about diversification, right? Normally diversification is of an investment portfolio. In my case, I did a different choice. I diversified my investment in 3 areas. One was Bitcoin, basically what I believe will be an asset that will appreciate. One was learning and studying artificial intelligence and new technologies like blockchain. And the third one was investing in education, in formal higher education, that was acquiring my MBA. So this a basket of 3 different areas brought me to meeting you two. It was a fantastic experience, and you were 2 great colleagues, superstar colleagues in the OMBA. And part of that investment is these connections, this networking that we have right now. You are in Kuwait, Olena is in Kiev, and I'm in Long Beach, California, and this is, incredible.
Bitcoin
Exactly.
Beach. You went from Bitcoin Beach back to the Long Beach.
Just few bites about my background. I have a law degree. I started, studying law. I became an attorney. I realized immediately I didn't like to practice law. I started working in marketing. I had, a fast career in corporate, and then I moved from corporate to professional sports. In between, I was a military officer for a special military corps. In 2010, I decided that I wasn't happy, even if I was relatively successful in my life, because I had this childhood dream to live and succeed, hopefully in California. So I moved. Basically, I restarted from scratch. I went to Santa Barbara in California, and it's been 15 years. I've been, experiencing different part of this journey. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a consultant. I've been working in higher education. I worked for one of the biggest higher education system in the world, that is the University of California. Where I was the first chief experience officer for the University of California, Riverside, and I was the assistant dean. And I actually teach presently to UCLA Extension. I actually teach AI marketing, and hopefully soon something about the blockchain and Bitcoin.
And I wonder, what does motivate you? What is inspiration for all of these activities? You just get up in the morning, drink your coffee, thinking, I will do this one, or how is this idea?
The biggest motivation in the world are power, money, or three, and women, right? And sex, right? Or men. In my case, I think motivation comes from within. I've always been self-motivated. I'm very disciplined, and I'm very hard and demanding with myself. So sometimes when I don't feel that I'm productive, I'm really too hard with myself. I wake up very early in the morning, between 4 and 5-ish, 5:30 at the latest. I have my routine. I work out. I live by the beach. I have my walk. I start working very early. Sometimes I work with Asia, so I have early morning meetings or late night meetings. But normally I go to bed early. So, and to answer your question, Olena, I think that motivation comes from understanding that time is the most limited commodity in the world. We have only two limited assets in the world. One is time. Not even Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk can buy more time than you or Joseph or me. And the second one is Bitcoin. There are only 21 people.